Now that you've completed your editing, your filters, your effects, and you've made everything awesome, look pretty, you're ready to go ahead and export this video. Now, what an export is essentially we're going to turn everything from our timeline down into an actual video. This is a lot different from saving the file. See, if we go to the file and hit save or save as, all this is saving our project, which, of course is a good thing, but saving our project isn't quite what we're looking for. We want to actually make a video out of this. And so for us to do so, we need to do an export. Now, for export, there's two ways we could go about it. The first is to go into the top right corner over here and hit the quick export button. That is the second one from the left. Now, quick export is a really great option if you're in a hurry and just want it to be easy. Really, it gives you the best presets possible for anything that is an internet video, and you can choose the presets from matching source, which means that we're going to have it the same size and type of video as our project, or we can select which type we want. So for example, a 1080p, YouTube high quality HD video. That's a great option as well. So really you could do either of those two things, and the more you know about how you're working with it, the better. Nevertheless, once you've chosen your preset, which probably should be the high quality 1080p or the match source, we're gonna go select the blue text. Blue text gives us the opportunity to choose where we're going to be saving the video to. So I'm going to choose the Unit 1 project, and then I'm going to rename my video to be compositional video. And I'm going to hit save. It's going to ask me if I want to replace it, and that's just because I've already made this video before. And I'm going to hit export. Once I hit export, it's going to give me estimated time for how long it's going to take to save it. Now, the reason it takes a while for us to go through is because you have to realize that your computer is essentially writing all the code for a brand new video, and that takes a lot of computation. Nevertheless, it shouldn't take you too long on any of our computers, but when you start to get into really high-end stuff, I've had videos take as long as 12 hours to encode before, and that's honestly quite a long time. You should never run into anything more than, 30-40 minutes at most for something really high-end. Okay, now I've done so, I'm going to show you the other option, and frankly, this is probably the better option for an export. This is the Export tab. So if I hit Export tab here on the top left corner, it's going to bring me to a whole tab meant for exporting, where I have some of the same options as well as some extra. Now the file name, obviously that's pretty much the same thing. I'm going to make it compositional video, and I'm going to have it saved in the same place I was choosing before, which is the Unit 1 project, which works great for me. I'm going to say replace, yep. And I'm going to choose the same presets as I did before. Now what's different is that here I can also choose the format. H.264 is what we call a container. It's essentially something that holds all the formats like an MP4. Now H.264 is the best one out there for being a small file size but still high quality. So we use this for stuff like YouTube or sharing online, and that's why we're going to be using it for your Google Drive uploads. So you'll hit H.264 and stick with that. Nevertheless, if you ever need to know in the future how to save it to be something different, there's other options, such as making it an MP3 file, which would mean it's just audio, or maybe a WAV file instead of that, or maybe QuickTime if you want it to be something that's really high quality. There's a lot of options you can go with. We're going to stick with H.264 though, and that's going to be what we're going to go with. All of these tabs here are not things you particularly need to worry about. However, you could make use of them if you ever wanted to. We're not going to today, but the last one I want you to be familiar with is the range. So the range is going to select which parts of our video we're going to be exporting. This is really important because sometimes students will accidentally have extra video on the end of their videos, and they didn't realize it. In fact, I've had students that had videos all the way out here, and they didn't even know it. So when they save their video is actually like 10 minutes long. and I get them turning this in, and they have all this black video, and I have to give them 0 points for editing because they didn't edit correctly, and they saved a 10-minute video instead of a 1-minute video that actually had footage. So we can do two things. One, we can either delete everything that is after the actual video we want, and that'll let us to export it, and it's only the video, which is great. Or if you really, really want, there's another option where if you recall our in and out points, let's say you have all these different edits over here in the future, and you don't really want to get rid of them because maybe you're just in the middle of making your edit and you just want to test the footage you have so far. You can actually zoom in, and you can go to the very end of your video, which, by the way, shortcut key to do so, if you hit down and up on the keyboard, it'll move you in between each edit, which is really, really, really helpful. But if you go to the very end of your video, go one space back and hit O for your out point, just like we did with our previews, we can actually make an in and out point on our timeline. And this is really useful because once I've done so, I can go to the export and I can say export range as in to out. And this means that I'm only going to save this part of the video, which means that if I really wanted to, I could do the same thing for a smaller portion. So I do in and out point with I and O. And now you can see that the only parts of the video that I'm going to be exporting is this little short spot, which is 7 seconds long. So pretty useful. I'm just going to go ahead and make it a whole video by hitting in and out on the very ends. And in a lot of the cases, you won't need to use this, but you do need to check to see this preview. Because if you have anything like black video just throughout it, it means that you probably did something wrong and you need to figure out what's happening. Either set some in and out points or delete something that is in the end of the timeline that really shouldn't be there. Either way, we're now ready to go and we're gonna hit export. So just as before, this is gonna bring up a menu in which we're going to encode our actual video. It's gonna be synthesizing all the information, writing into a brand new video, and that's gonna prepare it for us to see it. Now, at the very end of this, right before you turn it in or share it with somebody else, there's one thing you really, really need to do, and that is check over what you've made. A lot of time I'll have students turn in something and they won't realize that something went horribly wrong. And usually when something goes horribly wrong, we can easily fix it. But we can only fix it if we notice what happened. So we're going to open up our video and we're going to watch through it. Now, because you've been walking through this process with me to make this video, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and let you watch through what I've created personally. And if you want, you can watch through it. You don't have to, you can skip it, but this is the very last step. So great work on making your own first edits from start to finish. Go ahead and watch through your video just to make sure it's good to go. And if it is, well, wonderful job.
I think sometimes we forget how beautiful life still is, with the media constantly showing how many bad things are happening in the world, and getting on social media and just constantly seeing just all this chaos. I think we still forget about the beauty of a sunset or a flower growing. What I'm trying to say is that life is still beautiful. Even in the midst of all this chaos, I think God allows us to see the beauty of life so we can see the beauty of Him. And when we get caught up and focused in all these things on the outside world, we missed the true importance of why we live, so we can experience this goodness that He has put before us. So life is still beautiful even in the midst of all this craziness.